The New Zealand Derby, perhaps the most prized and internationally renowned horse race event in the country. The honour roll is bursting with champions, super sires and those who succeeded in lands afar. But the 2015 edition is best told through the eyes of two jockeys. Opie Bosson is the master at the peak of his powers. The other, Matt Cameron, a young upstart, but a premiership winning one at that, ready to knock the master off his perch. But experience was invaluable on the turf a fortnight ago.
Mongolian Khan wasn't happy with the lack of speed, so was sent forward by Opie Bosson. Mongolian Khan will win it second over. Prima's got a huge race. I think Volkstock and Barrel's run third.
The seeds were sown for a rematch, not just on the grass at Ellerslie, but in the car park.
The jockey's car park are plastered over Opie Bosson's car with these post-it notes. Matt Cameron wins Derby. Volkstock and Barrel, Opie Bosson, shit rider.
You could say the scoreline was one apiece, but preliminaries are futile. No one remembers a silver medalist. It comes down to Saturday at Ellerslie. Two jockeys, neither who have tasted Derby victory.
I think he just wins the Derby, yeah.
Two of the country's best gallopers.
You see him beating Volkstock and Barrel? You think he's that good?
Oh, I think so at the distance anyway.
One winner.
Well, a very good evening and welcome along to the TV3 New Zealand Derby preview show, as we will preview each and every runner in search of the $750,000 up for grabs at Ellerslie on Saturday. Start time of 5:48. We'll also have bookmaker Stephen Hunt joining us throughout the program, along with these two gentlemen, and Aidan Rodley and Steve Davis. Aidan, very good evening to you. Can't wait for the big race now on Saturday, as we've been sort of anticipating this race for the last few months now.
Yeah, exactly. Good evening to you, Brendan, to you too, Steve. Really looking forward to getting through the field for the TV3 New Zealand Derby, and like your little preview suggested, it's going to be a real clash between two absolute high-class three-year-olds, and Volkstock and Barrel and Mongolian Khan. Of course, there's some really nice horses around the outside of them, Vavasaur and Chanel's and Sound Propositions, but that's where the real interest is for this year's Derby for mine.
Steve Davis, as you join us this evening for the TV3 New Zealand Derby preview show. Waikato Guineas, Avondale Guineas has been the guide of the last few years, and I'm sure that's going to be the form reference for many this year.
Well, I think it is too now. We've lost that Boxing Day type situation. We're into March now, or coming into March. We've got that extra bit of time to see the form of the horses. I'm just pleased to be here. I thought he was here for an off-the-track special.
It's great to see you as well, Steve. Yeah. Nice to know you still are employed by Trackside anyway, but Steve Davis, you'll be able to give us some insight anyway into the TV3 New Zealand Derby on the weekend. As I said, we're also getting some updates from the bookmakers in Petone. Steve, you've had a fair few markets out for this in terms of futures markets leading up to the big race on Saturday.
We have, BP. Good evening to you and everybody. Yeah, not too many smiles earlier this morning when the barrier draws came out. Volkstock and Barrel drawing barrier 4 and is now our new favourite on option 209. Mongolian Khan was our favourite when we closed futures markets at a $3 price. He has now shifted out to $4 in that second line of betting after drawing barrier 12. Volkstock and Barrel, the new favourite, and as short as $2.60, number one in the book. A couple of other horses we must quickly mention. Midnight Magic Man, drawn barrier 7, was as long as $21 on futures markets, now as short as $18. Prima, good support for Prima in the last 7 days, the late nom during the week at $18. Sound Proposition at $12 there, and over the page, a couple interesting runners right at the bottom, the two fillies, Vavasaur at $10 and also Chanel at $16.
Right, 17 runners to go to the barriers on the weekend over 2,400 metres. Let's get straight into it. Runner number 1 is the favourite in the race in Volkstock and Barrel, and really has taken all before him leading up to the TV3 New Zealand Derby with his victory in a Great Northern Guineas, also the Karaka 3-year-old mile, and then was able to finish third in the Avondale Guineas, which is really the key form race, which was the last key form race leading up to the TV3 New Zealand Derby, which was, of course, taken out by Mongolian Khan. Let's talk talk about, first of all, though, Volkstock and Barrel and where he was in the race, Aidan, and what he's been able to do at his final section of this race and finish into third. And he really was the one that everyone wanted to be on after the way that he did get home from the back of the field.
Yeah, just before we get there, here's a real key movement in the race. This is 1,400 metres out when Opie Bosson takes the race by the scruff of the neck. Premier had got to the front with Brendan Hutton, being able to ease the speed with Sam Collett on the outside and on McQueen. Just been able to soften them up, really. He's been able to get to the front without doing too much work. That meant that at this point here, when Volkstock and Barrel goes from 3 wide at that, about the 650 metre mark, he's come from second to last to do it. It was a decisive move from Matt Cameron. The horse jumped beautifully. He could have been on speed, but he's tucked him back into a speed back. In the end, he's had to really sprint hard. But I think the one thing about this, Steve, and you might want to comment on this, Volkstock and Barrel, as well as he's closing against the pattern, Mongolian Khan is holding them at the line. And I'll tell you what, look at 200 metres after the line when he's gone even further in front.
The key for me is Mongolian Khan went forward. He's got the confidence to know he's going to stay. For mine, I don't think Matt Cameron and the connections thought this horse was going to stay. I think they went back in the hopes that he can sit there and hit the line strong, which he did. But I'm telling you now, come the Derby at the 600 metre mark, somebody's going to whisper in his ear, your mother won over 1,000 metres. Your dad never won past 1,600. I think he's exposed. I can't believe he's come into favouritism because they're going to have to go back. They're going to do the same and he's going to be giving Mongolian Khan the same margin to try and catch up. I think he's a Monty, Mongolian Khan.
Yeah, well, the interesting fact that we've brought him into favourite has been money, Steve. $2.60 as short as his price is now. He was $2.50 prior to the Avondale Guineas when he ran third. We saw the footage there, running home very good sectionals. It took over 33 for his last 600. But in the last 2 weeks, since we reopened the futures market and had him second line of betting after the Avondale Guineas, punters have come out of the trees to support Volkstock and Barrel. It's just been ridiculous, the one-way traffic. Just a couple of figures to touch on. In all 3 books that we've run on the futures bets for the Derby, we've just a tick over 125,000 in turnover and final field win. And a total of 56,000 is on Volkstock and Barrel. He's almost a 300k loss liability here in Petone. And with the barrier draws, we had no question but to make him favourite at $2.60. And yeah, money talks, and it's as simple as that.
It's interesting, Stephen, because this horse was a $3.20 second favourite prior to the barrier draws. The barrier draws haven't been that bad on Mongolian Khan.
Absolutely
Yet
not.
He's gone to $4 and $2.60 about Volkstock and Barrel. Volkstock and Barrel, just the things are in his favour because he's high class. There's no two ways about it. Absolute high class galloper. His strike rate's very good, and he did sort of buck the pattern of that race because, you know, most of the horses who were factors in that Avondale Guineas were on speed runners, or they went on speed at some point during the race. He wasn't, and he's had to do it against the pattern. But his sprint went from the 650 to the 200, and basically he's peaked on his run from that point. He wasn't taking any further ground off Mongolian Khan from that point. So the difference this time round is I think he'll be in front. I think he's the leader in the race, and that'll make it different. He can sprint at the 400, and that way he can win a race.
Who's going to be in front?
I reckon Volkstock and Barrel.
Go forward.
I reckon
they won't go forward on
he's
the
the
horse.
leader in the race.
No, I reckon they won't.
Due to especially the fact with what they did in those smaller fields, they rolled forward with him and they were able to put him in the race. He's been able to learn in those particular races by going forward. There's going to be a lot of outside pressure, isn't there, at the beginning of this race? So he's going to have to take a handy position.
Why didn't he go forward in the Guineas then?
Well, I'm sure it was a tactic to see if
Because
they
they don't
could relax.
think he's going to hit the 2,400 metres.
They wanted to be able to see if he could, to relax and be able to prove himself as a star. He's got home well enough to be fair, but not really to get the extra 300 metres might be an issue.
I think he's exposed if he goes forward.
If he goes forward, the horse on his outside is going to be Giant Turtle, and it's just whether he hands up and then passes on to Giant Turtle. Then there's horses like Prima, Sealed by a Dance, Mongolian Khan, who might be the next wave. If that's the case, then he gets a lovely trail in the race, and Matt Cameron would be pretty happy there.
I think he goes back.
Is he favourite in your mind, though?
No, not the favourite in my mind. I think the bookies have got it wrong. I think they had it right at the end of the futures betting. I can't understand why they've changed it so much when one's drawn 12, one's drawn 4. It's not like he's drawn 17, Mongolian Khan.
And the 2 horses inside of him, Turtle and Prima, are going to go forward. He's going to get the drag over. I think the horse is exposed as Vavasor. I think that horse is going to be left prouted 3-4 deep.
All right, well, let's talk about the favourite in Volkstock and Barrel. $2.60 for the race. He was $3.20 before the new market did come out through barrier draws. And as I said, there's now $2.60 favourite. Mongolian Khan is now at $4 second favourite. We're going to take a break here on the TV3 New Zealand Derby preview. And as we do so, let's hear more from the Volkstock and Barrel team.
Back towards the tail, Volkstock and Barrel. He's been eased back to second to last here, the favourite, and Jay Walker's last.
He's very versatile. Where he's led, he's been midfield and he's come from behind, and that's not often seen. He's versatile. He can race anywhere in the field and still get up and perform.
Volkstock and Barrel, he's back third last, the favourite. He's 12 lengths off the leaders.
I think when we didn't go forward, they all just walked. And, you know, having Vavasor out in front, making the pace genuine would really make it better for us.
Gee, Volkstock and Barrel, he'll have to be everything that we think he is today. He's a long way off them. Homeward bound they are now. 350 metres to go. McQueen ranged up for Mongolian Khan. 2 lengths away, Prima, then Midnight Magic Man looking to run on. Further back is Rockfast. It's Mongolian Khan on the inside. Midnight Magic Man's coming after him, so too is Prima, still there McQueen. Here's Volkstock and Barrel arriving down the outside. Great battle here. Going to the line, Mongolian Khan's in front. Mongolian Khan will win it second over. Prima's got a huge race. I think Volkstock and Barrel's run third.
But I thought it was a very gutsy effort. He came home in 33.11. Off the back with a rail out 7 metres, it was a pretty good effort. He had a good blow. His heart rate was still up a little bit elevated for where he is at his best, so he'll take improvement from that, but he'll be spot on come Derby Day.
You know, obviously the plan was to get back, get him to relax. He dropped a bit, even on a apprentice race cantering pace in front of him in his first corner, and he dropped a bit nicely, and to make up 15 lengths on the win, it was absolutely phenomenal. So I think he just wins the Derby.
That's a great confidence booster for him, and we need that going in. Your jockey's got to be mind-tuned right into it, so that's fantastic. We're in it to win it. We're there for the big go. This is us. This is like the grand final of all grand finals for us. Having 2 runners is even, you know, more exhilarating for the stable. And they're both really live chances, and I really feel we're going in with some big ammunition.